What's up, guys? It's that Panda guy, and I'm here again with another video, and today we're gonna be looking at this Genesis War. And I actually missed my first fight because my internet was out, so I had to use my data on my computer to actually play this one. So I hadn't recorded the first one, and that was where mostly a good action came from in the first round of Genesis War, at least for us. We were fighting mostly a 2v1 in this situation. We did ally with Hot 9, but I think this was on their downtime on the first fight, so they weren't able to be as much help as we would have liked. And we also were kind of burnt on our first fight, so we weren't on the field as much. So yeah, it did look like we were doing less in this footage, but we did do a lot in the first round. FX3 gave us a tough fight, honestly, a really, really good fight. But, like I said, we did miss that first fight. In any case, there was also an insane play that, like I said, we don't show here, but, I will say this was one of my more exciting Genesis Wars, but basically what happens is we build into FX3, and they were defending pretty nicely, but right as a mid closed, we got a burn on one of their towers, and we managed to get the burn off so that we were able to get a ton of zeros on a ton of these bases, which we honestly would not have gotten before. And honestly, that freaking burn had gotten us so many bases dropped. It was insane. Like, I did not think we were going to get it, but luckily we did get the burn just in time, and we got a lot of good zeros there. That being said, like I said, they fought us pretty hard. They were really good on the field. They honestly freaking surprised me with how much they had fought us and like kicked us back. And Big 8 was actually extremely strong here to the point where we weren't able to help Hot 9. One, because, Hot 9 wasn't as active as we would have liked in the first round. And two, even if they were more active, it's kind of hard to say if we'd be able to help them win the round, right? Because FX3 was already giving us enough trouble. I think we could have held on and just focused the field and maybe push back Big 8 if, Hot 9 was more active in the first round. But even then, I think it was just really hard to support these guys. When it came down to fighting up mid, maybe that was the best we would have been able to do, is like rally out their structures. But getting Hot 9 points would have been really hard. We do manage to do that for our allies D&T in round 2, which it was also extremely hard. And we had like a freaking twist that came up that we were not expecting, which changed the results of everything basically, or it might have changed how things really would have went. But we weren't really able to support them as good as we would have liked, so it came down to us winning and Big 8 winning, so we weren't really able to help our allies win this time around, which felt bad, but it is what it is. That being said, round 1 was a lot of fun. Round 2 was where I had most of my fun at. And round 3, we weren't having as much fun because, we obviously came in knowing that we were just fighting a losing battle. And honestly, this has made me come to the thought process of potentially just throwing round 2 and letting another team win. Just so we get a third round. That is a lot of fun, right? Because a lot of the time I know we're not going to be able to win the third round, the last ring, right? And there's potentially going to be a bracket where maybe we do have the potential to win it. But, in a lot of these cases, we already go in knowing that we're not going to be able to win the whole thing. They have a lot of these alliances who have just a lot bigger fighters, a lot bigger spenders and stuff. And we just understand that and kind of go in with that expectation. And honestly, throwing round 2 doesn't sound all bad. Maybe you missed out on a few rewards, but since the rewards are so bad, we're like, whatever. Might as well just throw the round, So that being said, we do go into round 2 with the thought of, okay, all right, let's give our all to win this. Let's help DNT win this as well, which we do actually end up doing a pretty good job, I would say, at helping them kind of progress into the next ring. And I kind of want this fight in just because I'm ready for our next ring. I mean, I think it's about to end here, though. And this was a tough one, guys. Like, honestly, Hot 9 had a bunch of bases get zeroed at the very end here. Sheesh, man. All they needed to do was hold for a little bit longer. I wish we could have helped them more, but, like, honestly, field fighting from afar is just not our forte, and we would not be able to help them for long, and we would just get wiped off the field. And like I said, we had fought so hard in the first round that a lot of our hospitals were kind of capped off, and we just were not trying to fill them for this. All right, and now we're in round 2. So round 2 obviously is a different format. You only have one tower across as well. And basically what our big idea was helping DNT get as many points as possible. And honestly, we didn't do our best in the first round of fighting, right? Because we should have targeted Sky or Ski, whatever, however they pronounce them. I'm gonna say Sky, but we should have targeted Sky more on these structures, right? Because honestly, in round 1, the 100 group was our main enemy, right? But honestly, the 100 group hadn't been as active as they were in round 2, and honestly, we were not expecting their activity in round 2. But the thing is, we were like, why are we focusing so hard on these guys right now when they're not really putting pressure on us? They're not rallying us at all, And honestly, we were we were, you know, stumping on these guys on the structures and stuff more so than we needed to. And then we end up focusing down on Sky and trying to make sure that they're not able to get any points, because we want to make sure that D&T goes into the next round with as much of an advantage as possible. And we are already we end this round with like double the points that number 2 has, which is D&T, because we managed to get them just over you know, these guys in the first round. Also, we should have swarmed this tower out earlier. We had a chance, but we had sent a rally, and we should have swarmed it when it was building. Like, I don't know why we didn't swarm it. You know, we took too long, and then they managed to get that build off. Yeah, but Ski had an insane well, and this was the biggest issue. We were not sure how they'd be able to hold on. The rallies this guy was going to be able to put out would just the damage this guy would put out is insane, and it was really hard for them to hold. And I feel really bad that they were the ones who had to manage this guy, because honestly, if we just had to defend a tower, it would have been very manageable. Even if this guy was a problem to hold on the field, it's like we have a better garrison captain, which is Big Daddy right now, and we would have been able to manage. You know what I mean? Whereas these guys are struggling without a whale right now, and they were just taking a beating. And honestly, they did a really good job considering that they were taking on a whale without actually having whales to kind of run garrison duty and stuff. And that was our biggest problem, because we didn't know that, let's say we were to give them a structure, right? Like, we didn't know if they'd be able to hold science hub or anything, and that was the biggest issue. We didn't know if they just get rallied out. So basically what ends up happening is we do end up rallying their stuff out, because we know that obviously we have Big Daddy and he's able to put out a lot more damage. And we also wanted to draw some attention because D&T is getting pressured so hard, but they didn't actually notice us sending rallies or anything. And we easily get the science hub, and we easily get, like, I think another operation base from them as well. And what's also insane is we end up hitting their towers, right? We end up soloing their towers in the back line, because we basically get the science hub, meaning that you're connected to everything, meaning that we could basically attack any tower connected to the science hub or within like the surrounding vicinity, right? So we basically disconnect their territory, and honestly, I'm surprised more of their bases didn't get zeroed, but we basically disconnect their territory, meaning that they can't rally these guys anymore. Plus, their bases are vulnerable, so they teleport back. And not only that, they actually go to swarm one of our defensive hubs, right? And they're not able to, because they're disconnected from the freaking territory. That was so funny to me. But they weren't able to basically swarm the defensive hub because they weren't connected to the territory, which bought us a few minutes as well, because they had to end up swarming the towers out. And then they were able to finally focus on the defense hub. But then it was too late anyways, because it was basically the end. And we basically handed over the science hub on our side, and then we handed over the defensive stations, because we were trying to pump out as many points to them as possible before the next round, to make sure that we were able to go into this next round winning. And honestly, truth be told, with how much pressure this 100 alliance did, right, in the second round on the field and stuff, if they had put that fully on us, although I'm confident that we would have been able to go into ring through the last ring, right? I definitely think that D&T would not have been able to make it if the twist that ended up happening didn't happen, right? Because they end up turning on Sky, and I think it's because what happens is we take the science hub so easily, and I think it pisses them off, because they're like, dude, we put in all this effort, you know, and if you're not able to hold the science hub, because it's just what I interpreted from reading chat, but it's basically like, oh, if you can't hold, you know, science hub and stuff, you don't deserve to go into this next round, right? We shouldn't have given you the science hub if you weren't capable of holding it. And be honest, I don't even think 100 in the first round was at their peak, because, you know, probably time zones and stuff. But realistically, I don't think they wouldn't have been able to actually hold the science hub either, right? Like, we had field control, we had the numbers and stuff, and they just weren't able to kind of put enough pressure on us at the time. So I definitely think we were going to win in that regard. You do see here, though, they end up swarming these things out, because they finally do connect to the towers and stuff after swarming the towers out. But like I said, it was too late. It was the end of the thing. But damn, those freaking swarms from her hurt. They're freaking whale, man. And that being said, that is about the end of the first round. We do go in the second round expecting that 100 was maybe going to be a little bit more active, but we weren't 100% sure. We were hoping that they were going to be as active as they were in the first round, and we were going to be able to still suppress the field. Also, this guy had random ported, right? He was like attacking some people near the helipad, because we had some people who, I guess, didn't shield or they didn't teleport on the helipad when they kind of teleported an island, which really pisses me off, right? But we ended up using, and you can't see it on his base. I don't know why it's bugging out, but we basically use that that thorn thing, so we can't teleport his base, right? And then we get Big Daddy to rally him, so this guy is kind of in a bad situation. And now that rallies are only 2 minutes long, we are able to get this rallying on him. I mean, it takes 2 minutes to launch a rally. We should have actually had somebody sitting there to hold his base down because we thought we would have enough time to send another rally, so we didn't keep anybody near his base, right? But he ended up porting out in time, so that kind of sucks because we could have given him a ton of deads. He does get 200,000 deads here, but it could have honestly been way worse if we did get a second rally on him because honestly, he would have been in a really bad spot. Plus, if the second rally had burnt him, we would have dropped him enough to the point where we probably would have felt comfortable swarm zeroing him, and he would just have to wait for his battle fury to run out at that point, and that could have been, like I said, really deadly for him. And all right, we go into this next round. We did not heal our hospitals a lot because we honestly thought that we had this one in the bag 100%, right? Which, like I said, I think that we 100% had a good odd of kind of winning this round, even if DNT didn't. But we were not going to be able to help in the field if we didn't clear our hospitals how we liked. And, we should have definitely cleared our hospitals going to this next round. But I was like, let's not waste the resources if we don't have to, you know what I mean? But because obviously at the end of the event or at the end of the round, you get a percentage of your hospital healed, which is I think after this round, it's like 60%, if not more, of your hospital gets healed, which, is pretty significant. And if you already had cleared your hospital and only filled up like, let's say 200k room in there, you're just wasting so many resources potentially. So it's kind of hard going into the next round, not being sure if your enemy's going to fight properly. Oh yeah, but let me jump back to the other topic that I was on, right? So basically what happens is 100 ends up fighting Sky over this science hub, right? And we were super confused just sitting here for like a minute or two. And like I said, I think the reason is that they lost it too fast in the previous round because they were so focused on DNT that they didn't put enough pressure on us to make sure that they were able to keep their science hub and defensive stations, right? Plus we cut them off pretty easily because they were so focused on DNT that they didn't even notice that their back towers were burning, and we just disconnected them, which gave us a really big advantage in that round. And if I'm going to be honest, if 100 devoted themselves purely to advancing Sky, although they probably wouldn't have advanced, they 100%, I feel like, could have at least beaten out DNT in points, right? That, or if Sky focused on actually helping 100 win, I feel like they could have potentially beat out DNT, and DNT might not have moved into the last ring. So honestly, big thanks to big thanks to 100 for their unintentional help, because honestly, they were actually a really big threat in this round. We were actually forced to give away a lot of these buildings on the left side. We even gave away Science Hub and whatnot because we were worried that 100 was actually going to catch up to DNT in points, right? And they got really close to probably beating them out if we didn't hand those over. So honestly, those guys went crazy in the next round. I will say like their biggest downside is the fact that they don't have any whales comparable to Sky, like the Taylor person, or I think that was their name, right? I think that's their biggest downside here because obviously any rallies hitting their science hub and whatnot are absolutely shredding them in trades, and it's really field control that they're going to be like completely dominating in. They have to swarm these rallies out. They have to control the field. They have to make sure they just completely drain Sky on the field. And we do send some rallies over here at some point because we're like, all right, let's put some pressure now on these guys because we don't want them catching up too much, right? Because we were actually helping, or we are trying to help them a little bit at some point, right? Because we wanted to make sure that Sky wasn't going to completely, beat DNT, or sorry, yeah, Sky wasn't going to beat DNT, and then we were worried that 100 was going to end up beating DNT. So we started putting pressure on these guys to just make sure that they were more focused on us so that they wouldn't be able to focus as much on the, defensive hubs and whatnot. So overall, this was an insanely crazy situation that happened. Also, I don't know if you noticed that, but we just used one of these super weapon skills on, I think it's their alliance leader or whatever, or I guess they were swapping leader around, but we used it on one of the temporary alliance leaders, right? And he has a super weapon, so we end up sending a rally at him. Obviously it only goes until you burn, so we couldn't like zero him or anything, but we didn't want him teleporting. We knew we had battle fury, so we were gonna just burn this guy, especially with them as focused as they were on, kind of putting some pressure on Sky. We knew that we would get a lot less pressure kind of on this rally, and potentially not even a counter rally, which they actually never ran. I think they did some swarms in the rally, but it's really hard swarming someone like Big Daddy's rally unless you're mega whale kind of, right, and taking really great trades, because dude, these you're hitting into 5 million plus my armaments. This dude has white parts and stuff. Overall, he is a freaking killer. So this base does end up obviously losing, and Yikes, man. The trades, honestly insane. Like, this is why I love freaking having Big Daddy here. I really appreciate the guy for hanging out in Prime because these rallies are absolutely killer. I'm used to being the garrison and rally captain. And right now, my dut's gotten up to, I think it's 3.8 million might, which is pretty good for me, but obviously it's not whale levels. I'd probably only be able to trade 1 for 1 or maybe even negative against 100 in towers, but you know, we could maybe still hold our own against these guys. But in the field, these guys were absolutely dominant, and it would just be super hard to kind of take these guys on. So yeah, the crutch is definitely necessary here. But you know, I think everything played out really well. We do end up winning and obviously progressing with D&T. So how the results turned out, you know, they were pretty nice. And honestly, big shout out to D&T. They were great allies. We tried our best, you know, support these guys. You know, obviously we weren't able to support them as much as we would have liked because they were just getting completely pounded on those towers. But you know, this was a GG's. And honestly, I would have been willing. I think they did change their rewards because they used to have like first, second, third, fourth rewards, right? And I think first and second get the same rewards, at least in this ring when progressing. But I had actually been willing to give the first place rewards up because I was like, dude, there's no way these guys don't deserve it after having to take those rallies. Because I could understand us taking like Sky's rallies on our towers because we have Big Daddy as a garrison captain here, but they don't have someone like that right now, or they didn't in this bracket. So I don't know, man. I was just like, I felt so bad taking taking what's it called? Taking first place, you know, which apparently didn't actually change anything. So I was like, whatever. And to end this off, we do have a little field fight here. I didn't like record the last bracket a lot because we didn't actually have any exciting fights. I think we kind of went in and knew we were just screwed from this bracket. So we did have like a big field fight here, and I think we had like some field skirmishes later on, but nothing crazy. And that was about it to the whole Genesis War fiasco that we had this time around. I really do appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great day or night, though. I will see you guys in the next one, and that is about it. Peace out.